This is BreakmanX, and welcome to the game show on August 6th, 2025. How's it going, everybody?
Doing great. How's it going?
Awesome. Well, the game show is a celebration of video games and our collective interests mixed with a healthy dose of humor while bringing in our favorite people in the game and movie industries on as guests. And we're down a couple tonight. Jess is out, and Logan was working on some film shoots out in LA, so he's recovering from those. But we will have Darria, God willing. Her camera is deciding not to cooperate with her at the moment. So once she fixes her tech issues, she'll be here, and Maul is also en route. So, and of course, Jack, how are you doing this evening? It's a little bit different since I can only ask you and before we get into Ace's bio, but how are you doing in detail?
I'm doing great. I'm down 2 teeth from last time, but still going strong and ready to talk about video games again.
Awesome. Me too. I'm pretty stoked for this evening. It's always one of my favorite parts of the week to do the show, for sure. So
mine as well.
Awesome. All right. Well, once Maul and Darria come through the interwebs, I'll introduce them as well. But tonight we have an awesome guest. And thanks again to Fenris for the recommendation. Appreciate you telling me I should do this. But Ace9921 is a developer of the Mega Amp and the NES RGB audio balance fix for the AV Famicom. He also does a yearly tradition where he records and posts Mega Man music, which we are pretty partial to, on his channel. He also developed a few cores for Mr. I'm also a huge Mr. fan. So welcome to the show, Ace. Appreciate you spending your evening with us.
Thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Well, we've got a few quick topics to jump into here before we hop into the meat of tonight. Jack, if you want to start us off there.
Yeah, sure thing. So a lot of exciting stuff in the world of video games this week. First off, I think the biggest news is the Battlefield 6 open beta is out right now. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go do so. You can get it through Steam. You can get it through EA's Play service if you're on their highest tier. I think you can also sign up for it on PS5 and Xbox Series X or S as well. I just got it downloaded after I got home from work today, and I'm excited to try it out. Probably not tonight, but tomorrow for sure.
Once I get my bandwidth back after the show, I might think about not during the show, because all my bandwidth belonged to you.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, the not just the graphic capability of the game, but the destructibility of it, it just seems incredible. I'm really excited to get my teeth into it.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah. I know you're watching a bunch of Evo.
Yes, like I mentioned, I had my wisdom teeth taken out this past Friday, so I got to sit on my butt and watch a lot of Evo this weekend. I watched a lot of Tekken, watched a lot of Street Fighter 6. I watched Capcom vs. SNK 2 even, and some Mortal Kombat 1, and it was exciting.
That sounds like a good way to spend a weekend.
It was, as far as weekends go, it was not half bad. Tekken 8, you have to forgive me, Arslan Ash won again with his Anna. Like it was very, very questionable. Grand final was pretty amazing. If you get a chance, check it out on YouTube. I think it's Evo Events is the channel. Cool. Street Fighter 6, Mena RD won for the first time. Just had a killer Blanca, and just nobody had any answers for him. It was It was pretty incredible to watch. Took out some all-timers in his run.
Wow, that sounds awesome. I'll have to check it out. Always, and just, Capcom versus SNK 2, have some great memories playing that with you back in the day as well. So that'll be a fun one to check out for sure. Mm-hmm. Well, cool. I have a couple things too. Eartheon came out. Yuzo Koshiro, his company Ancient made a new Sega Genesis game that is currently out on Steam. It'll be out on other consoles, other modern consoles later, and then eventually a Genesis actual release in box and everything manual in 2026. But I haven't played it as much as I want to, because I want to play it a lot. But what I have played of it, I really enjoy. I of course love the Streets of Rage series, love lots of the things that Yuzo has done. And really have enjoyed Eartheon so far. I really like the way it plays. I like the system with the various weapons and how they take damage and you switch back between them. The graphics are fantastic. The fact that it plays, they have more mega power to play with than you could have back in the day. But that intro video with the ship flying in and some of the other things they do, it's hard to believe that Genesis can do it, but it can do it, which is really cool. And of course, it's Yuzo Koshiro. So the music is great throughout. It's really, really good. I was listening to the soundtrack on Bandcamp as I've been driving around since it came out. So it's really, really good. I mean, it's just as good as you think it would be, and maybe a little bit better. Have either of you been able to play Eartheon yet? No?
Not yet. It's on my list to get, but I have not picked it up yet.
I think you'll like it. What about you, Ace? Have you tried it out yet?
No, I've got such a big backlog to go through. It's crazy.
I know. I have a big backlog too, like a humongous backlog. But I like.
Yeah. Oh goodness. I don't even know where to begin. That's how big mine is.
I know. That's why with this, I wanted to support Yuzo Koshiro, and I wanted to support like new Genesis games. So I knew I was going to buy it right away just because for that reason. And just wanted to dive in and play it so I could check it out. But I'm not disappointed by it at all. I mean, it has had a lot of hype behind it. There's a lot of people talking about it. It's Yuzo Koshiro.
Certainly. He's going to generate a lot of hype for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And ancient. And so, but I really hope it does well because I want to see more games come out from them. From Yuzo Koshiro and co. So hopefully, and there have been some people that have played it on the Mega Drive. I really encourage everyone that wants to play it to actually buy the game. Just because, again, I want Yuzo to make some more games, and he can't do that if this one doesn't sell well. But the ROM is in there, and people have been able to decrypt it and play it on a Genesis, and it plays flawlessly on actual, and the Mr. Core and everything. Yeah, it is super, super cool. But it does play on real hardware. It plays on the Mr. Core, plays on emulators, everything. So
no crazy hardware in the car. In the what should be the cartridge coming up next year. Is just
I don't think so. I think it's
all
just
standard hardware, whatever's already in the console.
Yes, just a lot of space. I think the game is. I think it's like 7 megabytes, which would have been a lot back in the day, right?
Oh, yeah, because I think even Super Street Fighter 2 is 4 megabytes, something like that.
Yeah. So it's a big cart when you compare it, to what they would have had to work with back in the day. But I think besides size, I think it's standard stuff. But from what I understand, they developed it on a real Genesis. I don't know exactly how he did the soundtrack, but it sounds amazing with the...
that would be one for sure that I'd have to know specifically what revision it was designed on because of the FM chip differences.
Right. We're done the expert tonight on Genesis Audio, Jack, just so you know. Mm-hmm. He knows it all. Yeah. So, no, I'll be excited to see what you hear about it, but also think about it when you get a chance to hear it.
Certainly.
But you'll definitely know better than us. But also on the retro front, also shooters. Gradius Origins has come out on some platforms. Yes, and then a few platforms yet to come. I think I'm going to get it on PS5. I was going to get it on the Switch, but I don't think it's in 4K. If it is in 4K on the Switch too, someone let me know and I'll get it on that. But otherwise, the PS5. But of course, we're going to talk about M2 here in a little bit. Maybe we'll get into it now. But Ace has some interesting comments on M2 that we'd like to talk about. But
it's gonna probably get a little spicy. I'll say that much.
That's okay. It's okay to get a little spicy. But M2, of course, developed Gradius Origins, and lots of folks really love M2 in their work. But we're gonna have maybe an alternate take here tonight. But I'm excited to play Salamander 3.
That's the big one for me.
Yeah. I love Salamander 1. Actually, I really like 2 as well.
Yeah, I mean, actually, with the Salamander...
Prop number 1.
Yep, that is a prop.
Yeah.
He told me he had props.
The original PCB.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Now
with
that's
a little
prop.
mod, because these two ROMs here actually contain the data for both the Japanese version of Life Force and the shared data that is among the US version of Life Force and Salamander.
Oh, wow.
And I have a jumper block, which is toggling the uppermost address line to choose one or the other.
That's
because
awesome.
what I want to do with this actually is get larger ROM chips and be able to combine all the different versions with dip switches that also have wires that run between the sockets. The idea being that I can easily switch between all the different versions.
Oh, that's cool.
really cool.
That's awesome. And you play that on a CRT, I'm guessing?
Yeah, lately it was an OLED TV, an LGC1 that's off to the side. Not the one that's here, but there's another one behind it.
Through a super gun?
Yeah, well, one that I've kind of cobbled together with an arcade power supply plus a Borty Super NES Mini RGB bypass board, which is there to buffer the video signal because these PCBs, especially this one, has the digital to analog converter integrated within this weird module.
Okay.
Which that actually houses the color RAM. And that's where the video output is generated digitally and also converted to analog, which means that technically you could actually remove this piece and stick a custom design board that'll actually get you potentially even digital video.
Oh, wow. It's so cool. I absolutely love that kind of stuff. And
my biggest complaint actually with this PCB, the sound is super noisy on it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Will you be able to clean that up?
Oh, I'd have to inspect the circuitry a little more closely because one thing, and this is common across pretty much every Konami PCB, the op amps are terrible on them.
Yeah.
Because they're still LM324 class op amps, and they tend to distort quite a lot. Even if this PCB actually powers them with 12 volts, not 5.
Huh.
Which does allow more headroom.
Is that something that's common to like all the Konami boards, or just ones from like a certain time period or a certain like certain hardware revision or something like that?
All those I've seen use the same op amps. I have also a Jackal PCB that is exactly the same op amps, but they are not quite used in the same way. So it does still distort. You can hear that it gets a little bit muddied in the low frequencies, especially, and there's a bit of crackling that's under everything. One thing though, with the way Jackal actually outputs its audio, the filtering, the distortion actually helps to muffle the mechanical sound of the explosions, and it makes them actually sound more realistic that way.
Oh, cool.
Huh. That's awesome.
Interesting.
Jackal is one of my favorites. Like the arcade version's good. I think the NES version is great. But
the arcade version actually has some nuances depending on the specific software revision that you play.
Oh, really?
My PCB has the Japanese ROMs, and that one you cannot aim the machine gun straight up. That one follows the direction of your Jeep.
Really? Huh.
Yeah. And there's also a version that supports rotary controls.
No kidding.
That would be so cool.
The best thing is, let me get the board.
Okay.
While he's grabbing the board, I'll just remind y'all that you can put in comments on the YouTube channel, and we'll even pop them up here from time to time so you can see yourself. And if you like and subscribe, you'll pop up here right in the middle.
I love learning new things. This is so awesome, Ace.
So,
I know it's gonna be one of those nights. We're gonna learn a lot.
If you look on the PCB, there are some blank solder pads right around here. These are for logic chips that would support the rotary controls as well as all the pull-up resistors.
Oh.
Which, if you were to put one of those ROM sets that has rotary controls on this, the controls themselves would not actually work unless you put the necessary parts in here.
Interesting. Has anybody dumped like a version of the ROM that works with rotary controls?
Yeah, that one is dumped, and they're also it's actually supported even in bootleg ROM sets. But
really,
I do have a bootleg board, but that one's stored away in a box somewhere.
Gotcha.
The bootleg, while it supports rotary controls, doesn't actually have any provisions to support the necessary logic.
Huh. Well, that's incredible. I like I said, I love learning new stuff because like I thought Jackal was Jackal. You always shot up. You always aimed your missiles or your grenades or whatever. But the machine gun was always up. So learning this is like kind of blowing my mind.
It really messes with my brain though, because I'm so used to the NES version of Jackal.
Yeah.
That when playing the Japanese version on this PCB or even on Mister, it just messes with me because I'm not used to the machine gun following the Jeep.
Yeah. It has to change the way that game plays completely, or at least what strategies you got to use. Right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's the same thing with the rotary version, because there you have full control over absolutely everything.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Very cool. Well, why don't we can go ahead and start talking about M2 while we wait for Darria and Maul. I think that'd be a good one. So Ace, Ace tells me that he has a little bit of a spicy take on M2 and evidence to prove it. So
yeah, well, I don't have the evidence with me right now, but I am gathering it.
Okay.
However, there are some instances that I could definitely say with their previous work, it really doesn't hold up. Because I have found so many things with the way that either things are presented or little nuances that they really didn't get right. And the first example that comes to mind is Galaxy Force 2 Special Extended Edition on the PlayStation 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Specifically the arcade version, the sound on that is dreadful. Seriously. Because
I have to check. I have that actually.
You actually have 3 sound options with the arcade game, which is to either have it emulated in real time or streamed off the disc as either the original soundtrack or the FM Towns soundtrack. The FM Towns soundtrack, I'm not going to comment on that because I don't have an FM Towns to compare it to. But the arcade soundtrack, first of all, the emulated one, I don't know what they did with the YM2151. They emulated that so badly. Everything is off. The pitch isn't even correct.
Wow.
And the Sega PCM chip, this is a common one. The Sega PCM chip has none of the weird quirkiness with the frequency response that are caused by the funky way in which it actually gets stereo output from a mono DAC, which is one thing. The second thing is there's a very aggressive 6th order low-pass filter. And for those who don't know how filters work, order dictates how aggressive the filter is, so how sharp your cutoff is.
Okay.
Or the drop-off in frequency amplitude. So if you hear first order, that's generally very light. Higher the order, sharper the roll-off. Which we'll get more into that when we talk about Sega stuff. But this is something that is commonly missed. They did include it actually with Sega Age's Outrun on the Switch. But they didn't get the stereo weirdness, or at least the frequency response oddities that are caused by the stereo separation. And still didn't quite get the YM2151 to sound right. Although what is there is still pretty good. I will give them that at least.
But not the perfection that people lay upon them.
No. And even with the old stuff, I believe they actually had some involvement in Salamander Portable for the PSP.
I think so.
That is probably one of the worst emulations I've ever seen of this game. There's so many things wrong with it. We're talking really nitpicky things here. First thing, the sound is... That is some of the worst audio I've ever heard of Salamander. It is very loud. It's extremely distorted. There are nuances with how the VLM 5030, which is responsible for the speech synthesis, actually behaves, which means that you have sound samples cutting each other off. That's not a thing on the PCB. And the YM2151 emulation, again, leaves a lot to be desired. The audio filters are not there whatsoever. And there are various different ones on a Salamander PCB, because it seemed like Konami had a habit of filtering every different sound chip in one way or another. They had, say, some with more aggressive filters than others, or with higher order filters even.
Yeah.
And that's not there at all. Even the sprite scaling is not correct, because when you compare a scaled sprite in Salamander Portable to the PCB, it's the pixels that are duplicated or removed are not the right ones. And even the slowdown's not right. It's excessive. Plus, I believe a lot of these games, this is not an M2 specific thing, but it seems more industry-wide. A lot of games seem to be retimed for 60 hertz on the nose. That PCB runs at over 60 hertz.
Really?
Yeah, 60.61 hertz, and Jackal's actually even higher than that, around 61.08 hertz, because there's one vertical line missing from the video signal.
Huh.
Cool. That's interesting. Awesome. We have a couple messages. Oh, Jack, you had something.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that's really interesting. Like, because M2, I mean, obviously, you know, if you're into retro games, you've bought any of I think they've got their fingerprints all over all of Konami's retro stuff they released, whether it's the old arcade collections, any of the Castlevania collections.
Well, a lot of them, yeah, they did. Yeah. But even the Contra one that they did now, that one has a lot of problems.
Yeah. No,
because arcade Contra is the big one as far as problems are concerned.
I had heard about the Contra one.
Yeah, the slowdown's excessive.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. They didn't even get the stereo panning right. It's backwards on the PCB. It's labeled left-right, reverted relative to the left-right outputs of the YM3012 DAC.
Mm-hmm.
But that's actually how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be flipped. It's the wrong way around in the collection. But the biggest one for me, there is a custom multiply and divide chip that's used to calculate the path taken by the rollers in the 3D stages. Completely absent. They just converge to the right corner, which is a problem that MAME dealt with for years. Until that chip was properly reverse engineered.
This stuff is so interesting. I love all the custom stuff that they did and the unique stuff they did on these games back then.
Yeah. Konami went crazy with that. Even Jackal, because this thing has those stupid ceramic chips here, tile map generators, and these have all of the critical logic for the game. Anything that generates interrupts, clock division, video timers, they're all in here.
It's so cool.
You know, I'm glad you said something about that though, Ace, because when I played it, I've got a home stereo system, and when I played Arcade Contra and I heard things coming out the wrong speakers, I was just like, am I going insane? Did I have a stroke?
Oh, no, it's actually backwards. It's actually backwards in that compilation, but I could trace this is not an M2 thing, but I could trace as far back as Mega Man Anniversary Collection. The first time I heard really egregiously incorrect sound, and it was a Mega Man 7. I had the GameCube version of the game.
Yeah. It's bad.
And what I found over time was they only have the left channel that is in mono.
Huh.
And it's the same problem on the Xbox version.
Really?
Yeah, they just put the left channel. The pitch is wrong. Even the pacing is wrong.
PS2 version's bad too.
At least that one's in stereo. I will give it that.
It doesn't sound.
I have to dig that out now.
Yeah,
because I have it back in the back room.
Yeah, another big one is with Mega Man 2: The Power Fighters, because I do have a CPS2 board that I could compare it against. Where are all the Q sound effects? Because it applies a virtual surround type thing to all of the audio that doesn't exist.
Oh,
that's cool. Well, let's hit up the chat here really quick. There's a few coming through the pike here. Hello to Maximus Prime, Sketsy Ceviche, Fenris, of course.
I see something from Fenris here.
Unibas.
Sonic Origins. Oh yeah, my God.
He's got a few for it. Before that one, though, he wants to know, what's the worst arcade PCB you've ever worked with?
Worst one I've ever worked with? Oh, goodness. Probably one of the most irritating ones for me that I can remember is R-Type 2. Because I got one that doesn't boot. Well, it's not my board, but I could never figure out what was wrong with it. The thing, though, is that there is a PAL chip that is missing from the board. I think that might have something to do with it. But even with that, I did swap the ROMs to another board, and it was still screwing up. Which, that was a pain. But also, I actually had a Life Force board that I bought broken with the intent of fixing it. That thing, some of the power planes literally burned themselves for no apparent reason.
Suicide.
Huh.
Yeah, but there is actually... Oh, yeah, there is... I gotta get this prop because this is a board that I really want to get working, but it is hell. And I need a lot of parts to actually make it work. It's not the board, but it's a little part of it. Let me go get that for you.
Okay. While he goes and grabs the prop, Jack, are you going to get Gradius Origins? Or have you already gotten it?
Yes, I am. it is on my list to get this weekend. I have nothing going on this weekend, so that is my plan, is to get Gradius Origins and listen to the amazing Gradius 3 soundtrack all weekend.
And what platform are you grabbing it on?
I'm gonna get it on PS5. Like there's,
Okay.
yeah, I'm getting it on
Let's see.
PS5.
Cool.
Does this cartridge look familiar to anybody?
Yes, I see Gradius.
Yes, this is a Gradius Konami Bubble System cartridge. I do have the board. I never got it to work.
Okay.
Because,
so
well, there are a
cool.
couple of stupid things about this. First of all, this storage medium is unreliable.
As I say, tell us a little bit about the bubble system. What's unique about it?
Yeah, the main thing is the actual storage is not quite... It isn't a ROM, like a typical ROM chip that you would find. I think of it more like a solid-state tape. Because it works similarly to a tape with the way the bubbles themselves are brought out to have the data read. But the thing is, this is a very sensitive piece of equipment. Any electromagnetic interference with this thing it could destroy the data.
Yeah, I mean, if it's tape based, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, well, it's not tape, but the thing is, it's very sensitive to magnetic fields, which is especially horrible in an arcade because you have not only a bunch of cabinets around, but you have EMI coming from the CRTs, EMI coming off the speakers. And I don't think those cabinets are very well shielded to deal with this stuff. There are replacements that you can get, and that's actually what I like to do because I don't trust the data on this to actually be intact. But the other thing is the board. Well, first of all, I made a mess of it because I was trying to get the ROM version to work. I have to get rid of all of that because what I discovered over time was that there is a separate PCB that plugs to the side, and that is the work RAM for the 68000. I never got that board.
Oh.
Which is probably why the PCB was crashing every time I would try to boot it up.
It could make sense, yeah. Huh. That's crazy. I didn't realize that Konami had... I thought they were always traditional PCBs. I didn't realize they did kind of like a cartridge system at all.
No, they did that for a little bit with the bubble system, but it proved so unreliable that they re-released the games with a brand new redesigned ROM board. They still kept the same common video board, which is actually the same one that Salamander uses. Because it's still the same GX400 base.
Okay.
Except that they first started with this bubble memory cartridge and later ended up switching out to ROMs, and every game would have their own little unique setup, sharing a common video board.
Huh, interesting. How long did they stick with that video board? Because I imagine anything with that was mostly that traditional, not 16 by 10, but like that.
No, this was it's actually, the aspect ratio is kind of strange with this board because on the CRT that's over here, it almost displays in a perfect square.
Really?
At 256 by 224. But the thing is, the video timings are so weird that half of the score display ends up in overscan.
Oh.
So you don't even see it.
Yeah. It's
useful.
crazy.
And then he also did want to ask you about Sonic Origins.
Oh man, where do I even begin with this one? Sega completely messed it up. We'll put it that way. But the thing that really infuriates me is how inconsistent all the audio work is. Because for the music, they're pretty much all audio recordings direct from hardware, real hardware. You could hear the filtering, you could hear the YM2612's characteristic DAC distortion. But at some point, when I was going through Sonic 3's music, 6 audio tracks came from the worst hardware revision that is known to exist, the VA7 Model 1. Because out of the factory, and this is one of them, this one's modified, but it is the VA7 revision. You could see the plugs in the back. This is how you determine a VA7 versus a VA6.5. These will be shifted here towards the edge on a VA6.5. But these things, the sound is disgusting on them.
Yeah.
It is clipped, it's distorted like crazy because the op amps weren't designed for this kind of hardware, or at least for the kind of frequencies that it puts out. Plus, it's not even the same FN chip, and nor is it the same mixing out of the box.
It was my first Genesis was a not so great sounding one, and I didn't know the Genesis could sound so good until I finally got a good one later.
It explained a lot after I learned about the different revisions on the sound output on those. It explained a lot why some games I thought had amazing sound when I like borrowed a friend's console, and then sometimes when I like rented one from Blockbuster, it sounded like
the inconsistency between Genesis hardware revisions is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because even on the Model 1, if you get a really early revision from the VA0 to VA2 range, the sound is clear, but it's distorted. Mm-hmm. Well, at least from the headphone out, because the preamp, the gain is set too high, which makes that pretty much everything will clip, unless the volume is very low.
I looked into getting the desirable model. What is that, the VA3?
VA3 is one of them.
Yeah. I got one of... I walked into a store and I just noticed, the way it looks on the back, that I thought it might be one. And I asked the person at the store, like, is this one of the good models? And they had no idea what I was talking about. But I got...
most people, especially early on, were pretty much clueless about this. Because, at the time, this information wasn't documented at all.
I got it for $18. So I was pretty happy.
Yeah, my VA3 actually was from a local pawn shop. Doesn't exist anymore because it was actually run by a family friend. But he had a couple of Genesis Model 1s sitting in the back. One of them was a VA3 that had a bent pin on the controller port. And I'm still using that system to this day.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
But for things like Mega Man audio recording, this is what I use for Wily Wars. It's a VA5 Model 1 Mega Drive from Japan. I've had this system since 2010. Never let me down once.
Nice.
Awesome.
Very cool. Well, let's go ahead and head into the meat of the show then. Jack, do you want to hit up Deltarune and Death Stranding before we dive in?
Yeah, just real quick. So I know I've been talking about Death Stranding for a few weeks now. I finally finished it up this past weekend. Well worth the effort to get through it. It goes into some general Hideo Kojima craziness at the end about who your dad and who your mom are, and a whole bunch of other crazy things. But it was a satisfying ending. Really enjoyed it. Troy Baker's character Higgs is just one of the best bad guys in games. I'm excited to play Death Stranding 2 now, knowing that he's back in it. And then also finished up Deltarune Chapter 4. I'll wait till Darria's back and Jess is back to talk a little more about that, but let's just say I'm really excited for Chapter 5 when it comes out next year. It should be pretty awesome. Left it in a good cliffhanger state.
Well, Daria's still working on her issue. So hopefully we'll get to see her soon. All right, let's go ahead and hop in. So Ace, how'd you get into gaming? What was your origins? Not your Sonic origins, but your gaming origins.
Gaming was actually started with a Nintendo 64 for me in the late 90s. I don't recall exactly when. I want to say about 97 perhaps, but I could be wrong on that. When it comes to really old memories like that, I tend to get jumbled up in my years. But the point is that I got my start with that. I remember getting that console with Cruisin' USA at the time.
I played that a ton.
Oh yeah, I do prefer the arcade version though of that one,
yes,
but I still had a good time on Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
And but some of the big ones for me, especially on that system, Star Wars Shadows of the Empire was a big one. And that's a bit of a I guess I'm not sure if it's a controversial one, but perhaps one that maybe is a bit divisive.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of bad reviews of it out there, but that's one I love too. When I got that one for the N64 early on too, and that was probably the game that I really played the most of. I remember getting stuck in the sewer level for the longest time. It drove me nuts, but I was still in. But I'm huge into Star Wars, and and besides TIE Fighter and X-Wing.
Yeah. Oh my goodness! Those are my go-tos on DOS.
Oh for sure. And then that was really like my, favorite probably console Star Wars game. And that the end of it, I love the Skyhook level where you're flying around.
That was so good.
Such a good level. That's one of my. I'll go back and play that occasionally. I still have my save file.
I would actually suggest that you track down the Windows 95 version.
Oh.
Because this one actually is enhanced over the Nintendo 64 one.
Is that the same one that's on Steam?
Yeah, it is this version, but I would suggest you get it from GOG.
Okay.
One thing though, this game needs a frame rate limiter.
Oh.
Because for one, it doesn't have one, but the thing is, speed is tied to frame rate, and it goes way too fast if you exceed 30 frames per second.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want Dash Rendar flying off the cliff.
Which is a problem. It's especially a problem even with period correct hardware, because if your CPU is a little bit too fast and you don't have a frame rate limiter on it, which there is actually a DLL that you could get to cap the frame rate. I believe it's called the XFPS cap. It's difficult to get the thing running at the correct speed, because it's either you're going to get the same frame rate drops like on Nintendo 64, or the game will run too fast. And that's actually a problem with Star Wars ports on PC in general, because especially this is the most technically inept one of the bunch. Rogue Squadron 3D, I cannot get this game to work properly no matter what I try, because on your hardware, the camera goes crazy. It can't follow your ship. It doesn't seem to be initialized properly, because especially if you respawn, that's when the camera starts to work the way it should. And on top of that, on period correct hardware, if you try to... It's difficult to actually get the frame rate to something that is either steady 30, because that's another one you don't want to exceed 30, because although the gameplay speed is not tied to the frame rate, ship patterns are, as are some of the animations, which the animations will run too fast, and any AI-controlled ships will have very erratic flight paths, because they tend to break over 30 frames per second.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Well, we have a wild ball joined.
Hey!
How's it going?
Hello.
It is all right. Good to hear from you guys. Good to see you.
Yeah, so glad to have you on
all
after
the Star Wars frame rate craziness you guys were talking about there. So good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, these PC ports are just a mess. which is it's thankfully not the case with the native PC stuff. And I did want to actually touch on the X-Wing series, because I got my start with I actually went backwards with that series, because I started with X-Wing Alliance. I found a demo of that probably around 2000, 2001.
Okay.
And I was hooked. I was hooked as soon as I got into that one, and went down and bought a copy.
Nice.
Which I still have my original discs from back then. And fun fact is actually where this nickname originates from. Because that's a pilot's name in X-Wing Alliance.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. It's always fun to hear where those come from.
Yeah. What was especially fun was when I went back to the DOS games, because this is a little bit of a weird anecdote with Outrun for DOS. I found it on an abandonware site one day when I was just perusing the internet, and I recall booting it up and just getting the PC speaker blasted into my ears and scrambling to figure out, how do you shut this thing up? I went to turn on my speakers. I heard the sound was still going, and I hear it coming out of the box. Like, how the hell do I stop this thing? And I swore off every DOS game after I heard that.
Oh man,
because it just freaked me the hell out.
Yeah, that would freak me out too if the PC speaker started just
jump back.
blaring.
Yeah, but then at that point, I started to get into the Windows 95 ports of X-Wing and TIE Fighter, and I went to check some gameplay videos of the DOS versions. And when I heard FM synthesis, that really struck me.
Yeah.
And that was when
So
that was
much
around
better.
2010.
Yeah.
I got really deep into building DOS computers at the time. Although maybe a little bit excessive in terms of performance, because I started with a Athlon XP, which that was ridiculous overkill for DOS. But I also had a lot of problems with that. But it's also what started a video series on my channel, where it's just playing different games with different sound options and different sound cards.
Oh, that would be cool.
The recordings that I found online were from some rather poorly configured versions of DOSBox. But at the same time, when I got that first computer made, I had an ESS Maestro 2 based sound card, worked over PCI, and it sounded completely different. And I later found a Sound Blaster AWE64 in a box. That too sounded completely different. And that was what got me thinking, okay, I got something to work with here that could actually make some content on and just show what that's like.
That's
That
cool.
reminds me a
And
lot of Break, you and your your different like video screen like capture device where you can change just for all the minute little differences from monitor to monitor.
All the little CRTs.
I am super nitpicky with that kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. I mean, even with the two CRTs that are behind me, they look completely different because this is just a standard slot mask, on the Electro Home one. This is a 16:9 aperture grill. It's one of those Sony HD CRTs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's crazy how different they can get. Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, this is actually pretty decent when it comes to modern games. And I have a PlayStation 5 that is specifically connected to the HDMI input on this one.
Nice.
Nice.
Very nice.
Very cool. Well, Jack, should we go into yours?
Yeah. So, I mean, Ace, speaking of PS5, what are you playing right now, man? Like, what are you working through?
Well, as far as games, because of Gradius Origins, I did have that Salamander board, but I also have Gradius Deluxe Pack that I was going through. This is the PlayStation version. I actually prefer this because I do have it on Saturn as well, but the Saturn version, the sound quality is actually pretty bad.
Ooh.
But this version is actually not that bad. The porting job was pretty good on it. The only thing I can say is that this runs like crap on a PlayStation 2.
Really? That's
because I tried literally every revision that I could think of. I even tried a 10,000 revision Japanese PlayStation 2, the very first one, and a 90,000, and everything in between. Gradius works fine. Gradius 2, the first two stages are at half speed, if not even lower than that.
Huh. That's really interesting. Which version of Gradius 2 is it? The arcade port?
Yeah, this is the arcade original that's on here. Which there's even a Windows 95 version that's not very common.
Wow.
But that one also has its own technical problems, being as, well, they had to lower the sample rate on the audio on that one, so it's kind of scratchy. But it's also running in 256 colors, so some of the color tones look a little strange. And the music in particular, Gradius 2 seems like it was taken from a soundtrack that had a faulty Konami 007232 custom chip. Because some of the PCM samples on there are weirdly quiet.
Huh.
Well, Maul, why don't
and
we go?
As far as there were some other games that I was going through as well. But the main one, although this was the last time that I really sat down and just played seriously for over an hour, it was F1 25.
Okay.
Because, well, it was F1 weekend here in Montreal at the time. And I figured to do a full-length race in F1 25 I started part way through the race and I ended up, that was the only time, literally no joke, that I was able to competently race without losing any bits of the car. Yeah, my racing ability is really not where it used to be. But this time I was able to do it without any driving aids. Thankfully.
So if you're an F1 fan, who's your driver? Is it Verstappen? Are you a Lewis Hamilton fan?
I'm more of a neutral at this stage.
Okay.
It was more.
Right.
I was more into some of the old timers during the Ferrari domination of the early 2000s. But from there is just a neutral, and I just go with mostly the underdogs.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
Yeah. Although I am a little bummed to see how Lewis is doing in Ferrari now. It's not a very good look.
No, it's not. He's had a rough couple of months.
Oh goodness, I'm sure the rage built up in him is off the charts.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys ever get out to Vegas to watch a race, let me know.
That's probably going to be a while. at least as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they definitely have been price gouging on the hotel rooms and everything out here at the time. But I've got some friends that are really into it and have been enjoying just the crazy look of having it. Actually go down the strip out here is just visually pretty insane. So
yeah, oh man, especially in the TV broadcast when you see the cars sparking along the strip, it's quite something.
Yeah, and they didn't quite have the road I think perfected quite as smooth as it was supposed to be the first years. I know they had to come out and redo all the manhole covers and everything, so we had a perfect track service, and I don't think they quite had that entirely worked out yet. But
I'm going to hit up the chat here real quick before we go on to Maul's question. We've got a few. I'm going to hit Fenris is up last because that will be a little bit more of an in-depth question. But I wanted to give a shout out to Castlemania Games. Ryan, thanks for saying that this is your favorite show. And also, thanks for all the awesome stuff you have at your shop. I got my last HG Retrovision cables that I needed from y'all not too long ago. So appreciate it very much, and the kind words of course. But Fenris had a couple questions here. Number one, what is your ideal revision for the NES, Famicom, SNES, Genesis, and PC Engine? Just throwing them all at you.
NES, well, the one I use, at least for audio recording, is an NES CPU 09, but I'd say they're pretty much all equivalent, except for the really early revisions, because I actually still have my father's original NES CPU 03 revision system. The video is weirdly green on that one. And it's something that I've also noticed other people showing NES CPU 01 and 02 systems exhibiting. Weird gamma levels and a rather egregious green push. No, I think it's something with the circuit, because when I was experimenting with making a Famicom clone from old NES on its chips, not the epoxy blob ones, but the actual QFPs that have chips along all the edges. Mm-hmm. That one, when I put a capacitor that was a bit too big to filter the video, it produced a pretty significant tint towards green in the same way. I think it ended up phase shifting a bit the chroma, to where when it got decoded, it'd be like you change the hue setting in the TV towards green. Huh. And I'm expecting it's probably something similar that happened with those early revisions and was corrected with the NES CPU 04. But for mods, the top loader for sure. Same with the AV Famicom. Stock, though, I would go for probably somewhere between HVC CPU 05 and HVC CPU 07 for the RF Famicom, because those actually have proper expansion audio balance. You don't need to do any mods on them. My only gripe is that they're very noisy. Interesting. Both video and audio, because video is full of vertical lines, and the audio you hear a lot of garbage.
I have an AV Famicom with the NES RGB and Voltar installed. I wonder if I need to do something to the audio to make it right.
Well, if he did the fix for the NES RGB that went through its internal amplifier, you don't need to do anything special there.
I think it's going through the NES RGB's audio circuitry.
Yeah, stock, it's not great. It's not balanced properly, and the gain is not high enough.
So it's better to go through the NES RGB.
The ideal thing is to go through the NES RGB but tweak the circuit. Okay. Yeah, which is that audio fix, which is published on Retro RGB.
Okay, I'll check it out. I did look at the levels, and they seem to be pretty equal. But I guess that wouldn't really matter because it's just doubled mono, isn't it? But
the main thing is that for expansion audio, especially with the JIO chip that's on the board, even if you put the right feedback resistor to get the gain where it should be, something seems to load down the output, because especially if you use a VRC6 cartridge, the VRC6 will be way too loud. Which is the whole point of bypassing the circuit.
I have to have a perfect NES, so I'm have to look into it.
So what other?
It's never going to be good enough.
Yeah. So I believe he asked for Super NES as well.
Yes,
I'm going
he did.
Squarely for SHVC CPU 01 on this one, the earliest.
Oh,
because well, the main thing is the audio hardware is in a separate metal encased box, which that encompasses the SPC 700 plus all the accompanying RAM and digital analog conversion stage, plus the third order low pass filter. And it makes for better signal to noise ratio because of the aluminum enclosure. There is still a problem with audio balance being skewed, and it's due to Nintendo sticking both of the voltage references for the left and right outputs on a single capacitor. If you look at the datasheet for the UPD 6376 audio DAC, that is the wrong way to do it. It explicitly spells it out for you that you need two 47 UF capacitors to ground on each of those pins, not one capacitor to both. Which that was only fixed with the SNS CPU RGB 02 revision, by changing to the UPD6379 that was designed for that single capacitor, which leads me to believe it was probably not a design error, but perhaps that was what was intended to be used, but the part wasn't available until maybe a year or two afterwards.
Gotcha.
Makes me happy that's the SNES use. I just wanted to go back to the chat really quick because Gastomania Games Ryan wanted to know about the Play Choice 10.
I haven't really experienced that one very much, but I'm not a fan of the colors. They are way blown out, let me tell you that.
Oh, yeah, I knew that the video had, but
it's very sharp, and I did use the PPU 2C05, similar to the 2C03, but not quite, on a Famicom test system, and it just looked bad. It's so saturated. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It is very sharp. I'll give it that. But the color reproduction, at least with the color palette that's on there, way too garish.
That's disappointing.
then thanks Fenris for the hit there. I'll hit you up on that for sure. And then I think he wanted Genesis was the last one he asked for.
I think he asked for that and PC Engine.
Yeah.
But as far as the Genesis, well, I always recommend two systems because of the differences between the YM2612 and the YM3438. For YM2612 system, just go for a VA3 up to VA6.5 Model 1, VA6.8 in PAL territories. For the YM3438, as weird as it sounds, I'll recommend the VA7 Model 1 and the range from VA0 to VA1.8 on the Model 2 with mods. Because you could get the frequency response and the volume balance to match a VA3 Model 1. You can't get the sound to be exactly the same because of the DAC differences between the two. You can at least get the frequency response and volume balancing the same. And for PC Engine, I go directly to the Duo R.
Okay. Does it have a lot of advantages over the original white one?
My main thing is, well, for one, it already has composite video from the factory. But the big thing for me is the audio is very bassy on the PC Engine Duo R, more than any other revision that I've tested.
I love the bass.
Yeah, and it's pretty deep on the PC Engine Duo R.
Cool. That's interesting.
You want to go and just listen to all your side-by-sides.
Yeah, it's good. Really my brain's going crazy.
I'm going to have to get a lot of samples, which this is actually what I use.
Yeah, check out his YouTube channel, everybody. Ace9921 on YouTube. It's also linked on our post.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, this is the interface I use. It's a Motu 828 Mark II. This thing is really old.
Oh, wow. That's a good...
This is one of the best I've used to date.
Yeah, that's
I was
nice.
basically just using older sound blasters. Now I have this thing set up on a 2012 MacBook Pro running macOS Catalina. And
that's glorious.
That is the least pain in the rear audio setup that I've come up with to date. Because previously I was using this on a Mac Pro on Windows 11, and that was a bit of a that took a little bit of fiddling in order to really figure things out.
Yeah.
That's the one of the and I'm pretty much platform agnostic, but Macs in terms of audio, their core audio system is really, really good.
That's why now I'm moving to Mac OS as far as anything audio related.
Yeah.
I do want to try some video stuff. I didn't really get to it, but right now I'm stuck with Windows, especially because of my capture hardware not really having drivers for Mac OS or even Linux.
Video, there's plus and minuses between the two because Mac does have some better processing of video within some of the video editing software that's more hardware oriented. However, the NVIDIA stuff with the 5000 series has kind of closed that gap, and its encoding is so much better, the hardware encoding. So I think with video, you could go either way, but with audio, Mac's definitely.
Yeah, I only have the experience with the video encoders from NVIDIA and AMD, and a little bit of Intel with a Core i9 13900K, but
NVIDIA's are so good.
I had a lot of trouble with the AMD encoders, except on my RX 6900 XT, but on my older ones, my RX 580 can't do 1080 anything above 1080p without dropping frames like crazy. My RX Vega 64 was completely broken with H.264, and I had the same problem with my RX 5700 XT on top of needing a stupidly high bitrate just to prevent the video from turning into pixelated mush.
At some point, I want to get a one that can do the AV1, which I will.
So yeah, AV1 is pretty sick.
Yeah,
I was
and
hoping
YouTube
that
will accept it for stream. So
I was hoping that was something the 13900K's iGPU could do, but apparently not. And the best I have now for encoding is an RTX 3090.
it's still pretty good. I mean, you can
Yeah,
still do.
the encoder is actually even when I was using a GTX 1070, 4K I could do at 50 megabits per second without it looking like crap.
Now, I'm actually doing the show on a 3070 Ti, and it works pretty well. I would really like to get a 4000 or 5000 series to do the AV1. That would be a huge benefit. But
the thing for me though is that I probably priced out, because going from a 3090 to anything that's not 90 series doesn't really seem to make much sense to me.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, Maul.
Yeah, well, man, I tell you, your engineering knowledge here is super extensive. I am in awe at all the cards and boards and the numbers you're able to just rattle off. So how did you start getting into all this?
I actually didn't get my start with hardware. It was actually software at first, because I wanted to get into game design when I was in my later teenage years. But when I started to really mess with building computers, and also when I was in Quebec CGEP, seeing op amps for the first time and actually understanding how they work in a circuit, reading schematics, that was what got me really going on the hardware side. And it just blew up from there. I'm finishing up an engineering degree in university now.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
What do you plan on doing there? Are you going to get into, I mean, do you still have any game design aspirations, or what do you want to do with the engineering once you finish there?
Not so much the game design. Engineering, well, the main thing was actually getting into FPGA reverse engineering with Mister. That was the big one. I started this in 2019. Although I've been on a bit of an extended hiatus from it, because I was actually working on the Konami GX400 hardware, and somehow I still to this day don't really have any explanation for it. Lost every bit of source code, because when I went to reinstall Linux on my development system, my hard drive was completely blank.
Oh.
And my data backup practices at the time were abysmal. I had nothing.
We've all been there.
Yeah, I only managed to recover a custom sound chip implementation that wasn't fully refined. I was able to get that working, but I never got the core back to the state it was. And at that time as well, there was another developer who had progressed much further along, actually working off decapped chips. So now I know at least that's in good hands. I am bummed, and I was a bit bitter at first, because I was working towards this hardware since 2019, starting simple, going through some Konami stuff afterwards, and I was going to finish up with the Konami GX400 hardware. I ended up losing that because of, well, dumb decisions from my side, really. Which sucks, because all that effort going to, well, seemingly nothing at this point.
Yeah, well, it's like an art form, right? Just with anything you're creating, you lose iterations and drafts sometimes, and
yeah, which is actually a fun story to do with emulation in general. Is I got my start with MAME in 2004, and it was specifically earlier in a day that I had off from school. I had gone to a bowling alley with my parents, and well, that place doesn't exist anymore, but they had a little arcade, which that was, first of all, my introduction to San Francisco Rush 2049, which is my most played arcade game of all time. I love it. But at one point they had an Arkanoid machine, and I saw it on a few occasions prior. That day I decided to actually put some credits in and play it.
Okay.
And I was hooked, because it was ball and paddle type games like that. I love them. And when I left, I wanted to figure out, okay, can I find a way to play this thing on my home computer at the time? And I discovered MAME, and I remember spending so many hours just to get a ROM. And I actually did end up finding it. That was the first game I ever emulated.
Nice.
But I already noticed that things were not quite right, because some of the sounds seemed a little different from what I heard on the cabinet. Although, I mean, there could be some nuances there with the way the sound resonates in the chassis. But that was also my first Mr. Core. Started development
Really?
late 2018, released it 4 months later, early 2019. Reverse engineered a bootleg board, which that was so damn tedious, especially because while Taito did have schematics, they're incomplete and deliberately erroneous.
Oh, really?
A lot of signals don't match up, or they will be there, they're correct, but they're not listed exactly where they should go.
Did Taito and other manufacturers do that like on purpose, or was it usually just like design dictated that things changed after documentation was created?
No, I'm pretty sure that was deliberate in this particular case. I did find a mistake in Salamander's schematics, but that seemed more like an oversight because after I corrected that on when I was working on my core, I did actually confirm that on the board that that signal was not. I think it was a chip enable line for the color RAM.
Oh, really?
Was not why it was not shown correctly on the schematic, and after checking with the board, that ended up fixing because for some reason Salamander worked fine, but Life Force, the Japanese version, did not go past the self-test, and it was specifically because that signal was not wired correctly.
Oh, wow.
Because I was following the schematic at first, when I compared to the PCB, that was when I saw the difference.
Huh.
You know, I feel you on the bad sound with some of your emulations.
Oh dear.
Have I was playing through my my SNES ROM collection a few nights ago, and I put on Rock and Roll Racing.
Oh.
And you know, it has some great you know, MIDI chip versions of you know, some rock and roll classics, but man, it was a horrendous sound.
ZSNES or some old emulator like that. Those
actually,
are pretty
no,
bad for sound.
I have it on my SNES Mini, which I had jailbroken that and have loaded all the ROMs through it. And generally, it plays everything, you know, pretty well because it was built, you know, with Nintendo in mind to play the ROM set. But it's, you know, it was really built for that little host of like 20 ROMs they had loaded on there. So there's a few incongruent versions on there. And that's one of them that like every like 30 seconds, so it'll play some of the song and then it'll like kind of blank out, and then it'll come back and play a little more and then it'll blank out. Or
I think it
plays
was
a little weird, you know.
I think there might have been some issues with timing to do with DMA transfers, and that was what's causing it, because DMA is a big thing with the Super NES. If that's not timed properly, you're going to have a lot of weird things with streaming audio, or even if graphics resources are being streamed in real time. Which even with that, as far as emulation, well, perhaps not emulation per se, but I guess you could say later revisions of sound cards. I got one here. This is actually one of my most hated. And it's specifically because this thing is really overvalued. Sound Blaster AWE 64 Gold.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like this thing at all. Because the thing is that it goes for an absurd amount of money for, especially when it comes to FM synthesis. This uses CQM, which is Creative's clone of Yamaha's YMF 262 OPL3 chip. It's not very good. It's very abrasive. A lot of instruments come out chirpy as well. And the only thing this really has going for it is a MIDI interface that's not completely broken, unlike most Sound Blaster 16s.
Yeah.
And the sound quality is actually pretty decent on this. It's very clean, but I'm really not a fan of CQM, and that to me really devalues the card pretty hard.
Is there one that you would recommend?
My main recommendation now, if you're not able to get a real Sound Blaster Pro or 16, would be to actually grab anything based off the ESS audio drive chipsets, especially the ES1688 up to the 1868, because those are unique. They don't have perfect clones of the YMF 262, but they do come pretty close enough to where I would actually be perfectly fine to use those things. But the unique aspect is that these are enhanced OPL3 clones. They have a lot more hardware features that you would not find on any other OPL3 clone or even Yamaha's own implementations. And if you look it up, it's called ESFM. There is a demo disc that has music that is produced with that chip in its native mode. I swear there are some things it sounds like it's actually PCM samples. That's how advanced it is. Because we're talking 4 operators per channel on all channels, and they can even have the individual operators operate at different frequencies. The modulation capabilities on that are ridiculous. And when people really take advantage of it, it can produce something that is crazy.
Huh. It's interesting. Okay, well, cool.
Speaking of audio, let's jump into the Mega Drive or Genesis here a little bit. So before we talk about Mega Amp, which we want to talk about for sure, tell us what's so special about the Genesis audio.
For me, it's mostly just the fact that it has FM synthesis. That's the big one. And especially with the YM2612, the DAC distortion that is unique to it allows for some very rich audio in general. Richer than probably not richer than a more advanced chip like, say, the YM2151, but it produces something that is completely unique to it. And especially when it's mixed with the PSG hardware that you'd find on a Master System, that combines for something that, to me, is really damn good.
Cool. All right, well, let's dive into the Mega Amp. Tell me all about the Mega Amp, how it came about, why it's necessary.
So the development of that actually started in 2012, and it was originally supposed to be targeting just the YM2612 systems because there was the Crystal Clear audio mod prior to this, which was made specifically for YM3438 systems. The thing with that is when I tried to build it on several occasions, I found the circuit overly complex for what you got as the end result, which to me was very underwhelming. Low volume and especially very abrasive because the low pass filter was tuned to a much higher cutoff frequency than normal hardware revision. So the idea was originally to complement it, but it ended up when I got Villahead94, who helped me with the first iteration that was released in 2014, that then became a universal circuit that would fit every single type of Genesis, no matter the hardware revision. If it was something with a YM2612, something with a YM3438, or even the later GOAC based systems, which is a single chip that has all the hardware in it, with the exception of the video encoder and some of the RAM.
Huh.
Cool. So why do we need to get a Mega Amp? Sell us on it.
So the main thing, the biggest problem with the later hardware revisions is the fact that the sound has been severely degraded in two very key ways. Mm-hmm. The first is the op amps that were used. They're LM324 class. Some of them will use LM324, and this will actually change the characteristics of the distortion. You have the LM324 by Texas Instruments on some systems. You have the BA10324AF by ROHM on some others, and you have NEC's UPD or UPC 324G rather, and they all sound completely different in their distortion. The BA10324AF hisses like hell. It's very badly distorted. The LM324 is a squeak factory, and the UPC 324G is very muddy. All the distortions, especially in the low frequencies. But the biggest problem for me, along with that, is the addition of a second order low pass filter to the YM3438 and also the YM2612, specifically on the VA2 and VA2.3 Model 2 revisions. Those are unique with the use of the YM2612 because the ASICs there were made by Toshiba, not Yamaha, like was the case with other revisions.
Yeah.
But that filter has two main problems. The first is that the cutoff frequency is way too low. It's in the 6 kilohertz range. And because it's second order, the roll-off is extremely sharp on it compared to the normal first order filter that would be on a Genesis normally.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that the component choices made it so that the Q factor, which if you were to look at a spectrum plot, what that does is that if your Q factor, I'm trying to remember if it's above or below 0.5. No, I think if it goes above 0.5, it's underdamped, which would result in audio is you see the frequencies blow out, and they increase in amplitude until about the cutoff frequency, and they would sharply fall off. So this would blow out the mid-range some. It would completely kill the upper frequencies, and especially with FM synthesis, severely degrade the quality. So you have that degradation plus the op-amp induced degradation. And that is the main purpose of the Mega Amp, to clean up all of this, I guess, failed design. Well, not so much failed design, because the design itself is sound. no pun intended there. But
The original
problem-
design, right?
Yeah, the original. Well, no, even the revised design. The idea was good, but the execution was, it just completely missed the mark.
Like the manufacturing flaws, if you will.
No, they're not manufacturing flaws, but the component selection was really not where it should have been.
How did
And
they
it
not know? I mean, it sounds like a fart, like in a lot of situations. I mean,
I don't think it was a case of not knowing. It was probably excessive cost cutting.
Yeah, I
And
see
that's
that.
what. Yeah, that's
because
what
we often
reasoning-
complain about the Genesis sound in here, and now you're telling me it's just like the chip selection. Like, man,
On
Yeah, it's
some
just
of
the
only on
components in
some
the
of
analog
them,
circuitry.
and only on some of
Well-
them. Some of them sound great. I remember playing Golden Axe way back when, and my neighbors, I mean, they were like, "Oh yeah, the Genesis sounds terrible," and it did because we were using one of the ones that did sound terrible. But I play Golden Axe now on mine, and it sounds great. Like,
Yeah, when I got this thing, it sounded absolutely horrible. But this is one of my development systems for the next iteration of the Mega Amp, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm building it in the circuit that is on the PCB. Because the idea is a board level component replacement.
Okay.
so cool. I
And
just
the
love
end
that
res-
that you.
The end result is much better with this.
I just love
Is
that
it-
you did this so we can enjoy great Genesis audio. I mean, a lot more people.
Well, I care about audio a lot in general, and I have been noted for having some overly sensitive ears in general.
That's great. No,
No,
that's a huge benefit, and I'll let everyone know on the show. But when we were doing our audio tests, Ace helped me with the high pass filter a little bit, getting his audio set up. So I got to be helped by him. So it's pretty cool.
Nice.
But no, some people have
pretty
super sensitive ears, and it's a real
Mhm.
benefit to everybody because you can do a lot of cool stuff with that. So
Yeah, the only thing is when you get triggered by sounds that sound really displeasing to you, because
Yeah.
afterwards, every time you hear them, it's like, oh my god, you want to stick toothpicks in your ears and blow out your eardrums.
no, I'm pretty sensitive. I don't know if I'm that sensitive, but I'm pretty sensitive to sound, and bad sounding sound will drive me absolutely crazy.
Oh, it's the same
Yeah.
thing for me.
I mean, like the Genesis, that was one of the reasons I didn't like it as much, honestly, until I got one that sounded good. And it's a whole different thing. I mean, it completely, for me, changes the Genesis or the Mega Drive or whatever, because it playing it when it actually sounds like really great. Like the music and everything really sounds great.
Oh
if
yeah,
you get one that.
you get a good hardware revision, you owe it to yourself to put this in.
Oh, let me zoom in on that so the folks at home. Oh yeah, that's so good.
This, put Metal Squad on stage 8, and just let it rip, because this
So
song
good.
is incredible.
It is so good. If you can get that far in the game.
Well, it has a sound test. You
It
don't
does,
need
it
to
does.
actually play that
Sure.
part.
It does. You're right. You're right. But no, it's a great game. You
Break
should
likes
all
to play under hardcore rules. You don't deserve to hear the song unless you made it there.
hear it. How dare you use the sound test? No, that's such a great game, and it's mixed well too. Like you can hear
Oh, yes.
everything really well. There's a nice spacing to everything.
Yeah,
So-
everything about that game is great. It's a bit too brutal for me to get past stage 8, though. But I do enjoy Thunder Force 4 a lot. The only one that I played 2 and 3 to completion.
Mhm.
But 2 is an interesting one because I can't get very far in the original X68000 version. That one is brutally hard.
Yeah.
Got a couple comments here. Gonna get in. So, Fenris says they even botched it with the VA2 and the VA 2.3.
Yeah, that one was botched in a different way.
What way?
Well, it still has that really nasty second order low pass filter, but there are 2 other problems with it. The first is a preamp is required for the YM2612 because its output levels are way too low for the 315 5684 custom all-in-one mixing chip and audio amplifier. That was not handled correctly because it's an inverting amplifier, so the waveform is actually flipped. If you were to compare the raw output to this amplified one, you would see that peaks, say a positive peak towards maybe 1 dB. You see negative 1 dB if you were to grab an audio recording. And the other thing is PSG is insanely loud on the Toshiba A6. And Sega completely mishandled this because the way it should have been handled was by putting a smaller pull-down resistor which that's a resistor direct from the signal to ground. Instead of doing that, they inserted another resistor in series before the pull down to create a voltage divider. That's the complete wrong way to do it because it screws up all the volume leveling between the different channels, but it also causes severe distortion, and this is especially noticeable with Master System games.
Huh.
And then Finners also writes in, the irony with that system is it has a YM2612, but Sega also attempted to use their own custom amp.
Yeah, that was the 315-5684 that I was talking about, which Sega used from the VA2 Model 2 up to the VA4, the final revision.
Yeah.
This is so cool. I'm so glad to get all this information recorded because it's probably going to take me another listen to the show to process it all. I have to do that on most shows, though, to be honest with you, because I have to listen to them again to really process everything.
Yeah.
Well, and again,
I see you just scribbling notes and getting all the model numbers down on a pad of paper.
I do personally have a tendency to information dump pretty hard when I have a lot that I've personally worked on.
But I mean,
it's great. I have to do that every week because it's mostly just because I'm switching scenes and making sure everything's working and everything. But everything, it sounds, I mean, it's stuff that I'm interested in. I mean, that's why I wanted you on, because it's stuff that I'm actually interested in. Oh, hey, J-Rod. J-Rod just joined. How are you doing?
Yeah, and it's just interesting. It's fascinating just to listen to you because clearly you've done the work on the systems. Clearly you have done the research and you have taken the time to learn all you can about these systems. And so just understanding just the little nuances that exist between each of the different hardware models is just...
Well, part of this is what actually brought me to university to study computer engineering.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because when I really started to get deep into the Genesis was in 2009, when I made that big guide, which now some of that information is out of date. Mm-hmm. But that was, I think it was just 16-year-old me trying to... Or 17. I don't even remember. Anyways, forget the age aspect because I'm getting a little bit mixed up on that front. But point is, I was still a teenager, just gathering this stuff up and stockpiling hardware revisions to really study the ins and outs. Now, of course, I don't quite know the nuances from a technical standpoint deep in the hardware, but there are still some of them that are, well, some have become common knowledge, like the VDP in some of the VA 2.3 Model 2s having graphical problems.
Yeah.
Because the shadow highlight feature is offset by 1 pixel horizontally, which means it doesn't apply at the right spot, and some raster effects are completely broken.
Oh, that's not great.
And that specifically happens on systems with a 315-5685 custom chip. Yeah. If you get one with the 315-5786, that's more common on the VA2, but you will still find V2.3s with it. That one doesn't have all those VDP errors.
Gotcha.
Cool. All right. Well, Jack, why don't we move on to yours?
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the Mega Amp and the Genesis sound chip, but talk a little bit because I know you're very passionate about the NES sound chip and the NES as well. So, what is it about that original NES sound chip that is so compelling to you?
I think what's more compelling isn't so much the chip on its own, but rather what it's like when it's mixed with other more advanced audio sources, like the VRC6 and VRC7 in particular, or even the custom chip that is in the Famicom Disk System's RAM cartridge. Because once you blend all of that together, it produces just something that is so pleasing to listen to.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
But
the thing in particular, and I think this probably is tied into the Mega Man stuff, it's just those specific games, there's something about them that I can never put my finger on that makes me like them more than pretty much every other soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
they're amazing though. So
it's the intro for the show.
Do you think it's a lot of? Yeah. Is it the constraints they had to do more with, like, you know, they had less to do their art with, or is it just the chip itself, the technology they used was just, pretty ahead of its time, or at least better than what came after it.
No, I guess it's just the way that everything is put together with, especially with those simple square waves that have various duty cycles on them, and especially some duty cycles mixed together so well that it just produces something pleasing for me to listen to.
All right,
Awesome. It's cool. That's such a special period. Fenris writes in too, what can you tell us about the NES RGB's audio circuit and why the fix is different between AV Famicom and the top loader? He just reminded us. He's still curious.
Okay, so this is different because of the way that expansion audio mixing works for the most part. Because on the AV Famicom, you need to run the audio through the cartridge slot because the mixing is done directly within the cartridge, which is where you need to have the gain specifically with 100K resistor in the feedback element and no capacitor in parallel to produce a low pass filter, because there's no such filter going into in that path on older Famicom revisions. With the top loader, it's different because that one doesn't actually have an amplifier to begin with. The raw audio is mixed with different resistors than what you typically find on other hardware revisions and goes straight into the RF box. That amplifier is pretty much a necessity here because I don't believe that those pins are really designed to drive line level audio directly. And putting it through that amplifier, well, for one, you could actually reproduce even the exact output of a front loader NES if you put 47K feedback resistance plus a 220PF capacitor in parallel. Or if you want to bring the gain even higher, like on a Famicom, while still retaining the filtering, you could use a 100K resistor and a 100PF capacitor.
Huh.
And the other thing with the NES RGB before I answer that, some of the mixing is not correct. There is one resistor that is of the wrong value. I don't remember exactly which, but it does result in the audio bounds getting a bit skewed towards one of the audio pins from the 2A03. And that's part of the fix.
Huh.
I can't stand it not being perfect. I'm gonna have to get the fix. Right, it'll literally drive me crazy from here on out. I didn't have. So what about the Crix's EverDrive or the new one, the Pro? How close are those to matching the VRC6 and all those?
That's one I haven't tested. I don't have an EverDrive Nate Pro yet. I only have the original revision, which that one seems to be a bit hit or miss. I'll have to retest it actually because it's been a while since I've used the built-in audio on that one. I do remember the mixing being overly quiet from its internal audio. You
could turn it. I mean, you can mess with the levels. I've done some very unscientific A/B testing between my Akamojo Densetsu real cartridge and then the Nate, and
that's mostly what I've been doing.
It sounds pretty good. I mean, again, I haven't done scientific testing to like see the levels and everything. But to the ear, it sounds pretty good.
The original to the ear for me, when I had it on the earlier Famicom revisions, it was very clear that the audio was not mixed in loud enough. And even at full volume, it was still not loud enough, which meant that I had to change out a resistor in the cartridge.
On the N8 Pro, there's a specific AV Famicom setting, and that's the one I use with my AV Famicom.
There's also a proper built-in amplifier in there, which I still need to evaluate how that fares.
Yeah, that's actually the main reason I even got that cartridge, was the new op amp, hoping it was better. So, who knows? But all right, Maul.
Yeah, just trying to, get back on the casual the games. So if you have like a little bit of time to play, what is your favorite quick play game? What do you sit down to and play the most kind of casually?
Quick fire one I'll go back to the F1 games because those ones sometimes when I just want a quick fire thing, I'll load it up and just run a couple of laps. On my own on the track, no AI, no other players. Run a few laps there. I'll sometimes fire up a shoot 'em up, Thunder Force, Gradius, R-Type, whatever you want. Or even there's now Project R, which is I guess it's a decompilation of the San Francisco Rush arcade games, specifically targeting the Rock and San Francisco Rush 2049. I'll fire that up every now and then as well.
Cool.
Sounds good, man. Those are some great ones to play through for sure.
For sure. Well, I think we got time for one more question, and it's one I like to ask everybody, but you can answer it however you like. There's no wrong answer to it, so however it strikes you, just go with it. But all right, so you've got your time cleared in your schedule. There's no time constraints. What game would you most like to erase from your memory and experience again for the first time?
Probably Galaxy Force 2, specifically.
Okay, can you say that one more time? There was a little bit of a hiccup there. Sorry.
Okay. The one game that I would erase from my mind and re-experience would be Galaxy Force 2, and specifically in its super deluxe form, because that cabinet, there's almost nothing like it. Because it's one that it is fully motion sensitive, but it doesn't just tilt, it also spins on itself.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, I
That's
actually
pretty cool.
did get to experience it about,
Really?
I think it was 2018, because there's an arcade in Ontario that actually has it. But when I went there, the controls were messed up.
Oh.
Yeah, so I couldn't really play it.
Yeah,
But I did get at least some of the experience of the motion sensitive cabinet. That was great, but that's part of the reason why I wanted to just erase it from my mind and re-experience it from scratch.
Yeah, that is cool. Look, I don't think I've ever seen this cabinet before, actually.
Yeah, like between G-Lock and Afterburner and like a lot of those.
Afterburner, that one I ended up getting the PCB because I liked it so much. Afterburner 2.
Yeah, nice.
I did have to modify the ROMs though, because the sound test has a fade out that you can't get rid of.
Oh, really? I didn't
So
realize that.
I actually had to get into the game code, run it through Main's debugger, figure out how to stop that thing. And once I figured it out, I reburned the ROMs, put it back on the board.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
So
I didn't
cool.
realize
That does
that.
look pretty sick. I think, hopefully, one day maybe we'll get one out here. The Pinball Hall of Fame in Las Vegas gets obviously mostly pinball, but does get some of the like the gimmick game systems. Like it has an original Star Wars arcade, with the full like X-wing cockpit around it and stuff. So
Well, that's one I'd like to try.
yeah, so if you're ever out this way, it's a real cool place and it's cheap as hell, and they keep everything.
My only experience
running
with
as well
that my only experience with that was actually the port that was done to Star Wars Rogue Squadron 3 on the GameCube.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't know how accurate that one is to the actual hardware, but I did have some fun with that one.
Yeah, you can never tell because the original one has a lot of like really grainy voices, and which is great.
Oh yes.
I'm sure it's probably a different chip experience.
I wonder what chip was actually generating that sound. I have to look up the hardware.
Yeah, if you ever get out, you can talk to the games master out there. He's always just wandering around trying to fix everything. So I'm sure he could probably give you some of the lowdown on some of those. We've got a lot of cool stuff there, but a lot of them need a lot of work. He gets some interesting stuff, though, not just like the consoles, but like we have a machine that he got from Disneyland that it makes wax figurines of some of the characters. You can like order a Donald Duck or a Pluto, and it'll like kind of like 3D printed almost out of the wax mold. But it's usually on the fritz though, because the temperature has to be just perfect.
Just right.
I have a only slightly malformed Pluto from that in my room. So.
That kind of sounds like how the bubble memory needs to be warmed up on those bubble system cartridges for the Konami bubble system hardware. This thing, I don't think you were around when I showed my Gradius cartridge.
Oh no, I didn't see that before. That's cool.
Yeah, well, I don't have
It's cool stuff.
I don't have the PCB here to show because it's in shambles and in storage. Because I was trying to rewire it to run the ROM version, only to find out that I have a secondary board that my board never came with.
Oh, okay. Crazy. Well, hopefully you can complete that one day restored.
I hope I do, because I know there are replacements for the bubble memory. And I want to get that thing going, especially because I do need to use it as a point of reference to compare with Gradius Origins. Plus, all old ports like Gradius Deluxe Pack or even Gradius Collection on the PSP, plus the Arcade Archives releases on PlayStation 4 and Switch.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you luck.
Well,
But yeah, it's going to be a pretty big undertaking.
This has been an awesome evening. I feel like I've learned so much in the last hour and a half. This has been really great. Jack, what would you like to say before you head off into the sunset?
Boy. Just this week. Gonna try to tiptoe back into Cyberpunk because it's been like I literally checked my clock this past week as I reinstalled it, and I realized my last save game was from 2023. So I'm sure the game has changed radically since then. So I'm kind of looking forward to it, but also I'm gonna have to remember how to play the dang thing again.
Cool. And Maul.
Well, I came in a little late, so I'm going to have to regale you guys with tales of Gen Con. Both the victories and the woes next time. So that'll be something to go over.
Looking forward to it.
Love to hear it next week for sure. And Ace, anything you'd like to say before we head off?
Well, not really much else to add, really. This was actually quite a fun experience to just let loose a little bit with game talk, engineering talk, just tech stuff in general.
Awesome.
And I do still have a lot of projects that I want to get through, and some of them involve dealing with or going crazy on some old computers.
Cool. Well, anything you want to promote, I'm happy to post all over everywhere.
Yeah, this is just one example. This old Mac Mini, it looks like a 2010, but it's actually a 2012 model in this. Maxed out. And I want to put it in a 2010 case because I want an internal Blu-ray drive in this.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
plus I'm working with a 2011 iMac, which that one I want to actually make into a gaming all-in-one.
Oh,
except I'm having some trouble with the thermals on it, but that thing you could upgrade the ever-living hell out of it, because you could put, even as far as an RX 5500 XT for graphics, you could put an overclockable second-gen Core i7 in it, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and if you can solder, you could actually put a triple SSD or even quad SSD setup in there, because it's got 3 SATA interfaces, and there's a mod kit that you can get to allow the thing to work with an NVMe SSD by bifurcating the MXM slot that's used for the graphics.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
That is really cool.
Well, we'll have to have you back on sometime again. We can chat about all the retro PC stuff, because that's some pretty cool stuff too.
Oh, sure. There's so much to go over. And I mean, that was actually one of my latest projects, to finish up an AT&T Globalist 486 computer that, when I got it, had no L2 cache. The card is proprietary. Someone reverse engineered it, and I managed to get the board made on Oshpark, built one by hand, stuck it in there, got my 256K of L2 cache, and upgraded it to an AMD 5X86.
That's really cool. Awesome.
And I only played the CD version of X-Wing on that, but the experience, even if it's not locked to 70 frames per second, it felt right. It really felt right to me, because the performance was there. It wasn't quite perfect, but I had a really good time with it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on tonight. This was a lot of fun. We'll have to have you on again. Yeah. And thanks everybody for listening to the game show. We'll see you same time next week.